Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How's everybody here in Orlando?
Great.
Thank you.
What do they call this? The Magic Kingdom here in Orlando? The Big Mouse? So I woke up this morning at about 5:45 because I actually live in a little town called Newport Richie. I don't know if you're all familiar with that, but that is about a 45-minute drive just to get to 75. And then the people that want to do 25 miles an hour and all that kind of stuff. So I woke up this morning. I don't like being late. It's just one of my things. I would rather be an hour early so I get here about a little after 9, which gives me plenty of time to meditate in the car. But here's what I want to talk about. So I'm giving a workshop today on activating the light body. But we're going to kind of lead into that a little bit here in services, because we're going to talk about the term of ease and grace and letting go and letting who?
God.
Letting God. Okay. So I'm going to start with a story, because I was here in, I think, about July, the last time, about 4 or 5 months ago. Well, about 2 or 3 weeks after that, I lost my day job. So everybody goes, oh, that was the biggest blessing we've ever had. Because I had been saying all year long, it's time for me to do my work, and I said another word, I'm bored. So I'd be okay during the weekends when I'd be speaking at churches and teaching workshops and doing healing work and all that kind of stuff, and then Monday would come and I'd have to sit on a Zoom call. Luckily it was in my pajamas and a button-down shirt, you know, because I was on Zoom for the last 3.5 years, but I was bored. Can anybody relate to that? Yeah. So that's when you start to say, but the term ease and grace, you start to say to God and the universe, it's time for a change and I'm ready to serve you, but bring it to me with what?
Ease
and grace. And because you'll get that what? Cosmic what? 2x4? Upside the head sometimes. But it wasn't that. It was just one of those things. I had been very busy all year long, almost to the point where I was like, I don't know how I'm going to keep up with all this stuff. And my friend that's a medium said to me, don't worry, in August you'll get some time to rest. It'll be a very short stint of rest. So the job ends, and I'm literally Spirit tells me, you need to get in bed and watch movies for the next 2 weeks. Now, most people would say what to that as if you just lost your job? Are you crazy? But I did. I got in bed for 2 weeks. And then in September, well, I meditated and I obviously made dinner and went to the grocery store and all that kind of stuff. But the important part is we rested. How many have had those opportunities in your life where you just had an opportunity to rest? How many didn't take it? You didn't listen. So this time I listened. So in September, my spiritual mentor ended up on a podcast, and I ended up on that. And with that podcast now is about 700,000 views. Mine's at several thousand views. So we've answered 2,800 emails. So why am I telling you this story? Because when one door closes, then how many potentially open up? Several, right? But the truth is you have to have faith. And one of my favorite sayings of Charles Fillmore is he said, he talks about the crucifixion. And he says when we crucify something, it amplifies it 1,000-fold. Crucify doesn't mean we have to get on a cross. Crucify means the end of something and the beginning of something new. And so what I've always said when it comes to law of attraction principles or cause and effect, you have to have very decisive action to have very decisive change. So you have to almost let something go so big, so it's the death of one area, and it brings something new. The death of who you are or who you were, and the birth of who you are now. Does that make sense? Okay, and so who's ever experienced that before? All right, everybody should be raising their hand. Did everybody get their coffee this morning? But the reason why that's important is because how many didn't take that opportunity and they stayed in the same old and became complacent? Who's been there before? We've all been there before, right? Well, complacency does not push energy in the new direction about where we want to go. And the reason why I'm talking about this today, because the energy of the universe right now, the energy of this planet right now is if you've had a dream, if you've had something you've been wanting to do, if you've had wanting change, now is the time to do it. because the energy is right there for creation. Who's been experiencing thinking something and then almost it happens immediately? Who's been having that lately? Because what's happening, and sometimes it's you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have thought about that one. And so, because the energy right there is to support you in your new change in your life. It doesn't matter what it is. There could be, hey, you just want to start going out more and hanging out with friends, or you want to do some kind of new art class and you want to learn something new. It's whatever it is you feel, especially in the heart, is going to change the dynamics of your world. So if you've been sitting on an idea, you've been thinking about it, if you've been wanting to spend more time with family, then do it. If you need to pick up the phone and call somebody that you haven't called in years because maybe for whatever life happened or has been animosity between the two of you, then call them, because you don't know what healing that can do, because they could have healed, you could have healed, and you could have both grown up. Has everybody ever experienced that one before? You call somebody and then you're like, oh, I'm so glad I called you. I've been missing you and our connection. And how many people have had the opportunity to tell the truth, and then you found out that it wasn't what you thought? You know, you built a mountain out of a what? Molehill? We've all done that one before. But the interesting part about how energy works is that, and for the energy healers in the room, when we hold on to something that we know is divinely given, that is spiritually given, when we hold on and don't move forward with it, that stays stagnant in the body. And that's what most people don't realize. And I talk to people all the time, and one of the biggest things I see is this chakra is closed off, and this one is closed off. And guess what? That suffocates this one. And so, because you don't have the energy moving correctly in the body. So people sometimes call, when we cross over to the other side, what kind of bridge do they call it? The rainbow bridge, right? Everybody heard that? The rainbow bridge is here. The chakra system, the energy system, because when it actually comes, when all of them are open up and spinning correctly, it looks like a prism. You look like a prism of light. Yes, there's white energy that comes out, but if you really look at how somebody shines, you'll actually see a prism of light. So I've started referring to angels as angles of light, because as their wings come out, they're very illuminated, am I correct? And we draw them with what? A disc on their back, or the back of their head, because they're illuminated. So that's super important. So when we don't speak our truth, we block this chakra. But when we also think one thing and say another thing, this is closed off as well. So we're also not living our truth. When we are afraid, when I hear people say, I want to just get off this planet, I am so sick of it, I can't take it anymore, then they are what? Way up here, and these down here, these chakras down here are closed off. And it's very interesting because they don't want to experience the pain and the things that they went through here. But they have to get down in there to really transmute that energy. It's called the law of transmutation and natural law. And so when they get down there and they start facing the pain, they don't have to live all the traumas, but they just have to experience the energy. And when they do that, their energy starts to open up, and then they are more connected to spirit. And the most incredible thing is the other part of letting go that I wanted to chat with you about. For the last 2 years, my mother is in spirit, and she's been saying to me, Jared, if you just let go, all these things that you're wanting, you'll get everything. Can everybody relate to that? We didn't let go, and so therefore we didn't inherit what? Everything and more. But the truth is that spirit knows better than we do. They see it from a different perspective than we do, because we're thinking with this, but the 18-inch journey down to here is where we want to be. This is the governor of the energy system. This is the as above, so below area of the energy. And so what ends up happening is we're a lot of times not grounded. So one of the biggest things in healing is to get somebody's energy back in their body, because they're out there, they're experiencing this pain. But where does God dwell? Here. The temple of God is within, right? So if we look inward and have that relationship inward, then we're going to start changing everything outside of us. So interesting enough, that 2,800 emails gave me enough money to pay for my bills for the last several months, and I made the decision to give up my dream apartment, because I had to, remember, decisive action creates decisive movement. So when I'm getting invited to the United Kingdom to start speaking and living there for a couple months, in Virginia, Colorado, San Francisco, well, this is what makes me happy. And I like traveling and meeting new people and doing my energy work. Can anybody relate to this? It doesn't matter what your dream is. If the dream comes from the heart and is divinely given, then you want to go that direction. But if you're in the canoe trying to paddle against the current in the Mississippi River, how far do you think you're going to get? You're going to keep on going backwards. So has anybody ever heard somebody say, I feel like if I take one step forward, something pushes me back 2 steps. That's because you're trying to go in what? The wrong direction. And there's not necessarily a right or wrong in this. You're going in the struggle direction. You're like, all right, well, I'll just keep on doing this because I absolutely want to live here, or I want to do this, and all that kind of stuff. And so it really comes down to follow the path of least resistance, because we want to live it with ease and grace. So when you start talking to Spirit, one of the things I started to say to Spirit is I said, I'm tired of this struggle thing. This is probably like 10 years ago. And I said, I can't take this anymore. Why do I have to do this? I can hardly believe that we have to struggle in order to live. Struggle comes from what? The attachment to the idea of what you should think you should be doing instead of what Spirit has you doing. And Spirit's way is always the easiest, greatest way. And yes, people will say to me, but there's lessons. I'm like, because the lessons are about what you're attached to. So the more and more you unattach, the more and more your energy opens up. And then these chakras, they actually look like a cylinder of light, of prisms. They don't even look like chakras anymore. They just look like a huge energy system when you see it on somebody. Has anybody ever seen the artwork of Alex Gray? Anybody ever seen his artwork? If you ever get a chance, look up Alex Gray, Universal Lattice Mind. And what you'll see is what we are when we're pure light. And it's literally strands of harmonic light, or I'm sure we've all heard of toroidal energy, or a toroidal body. If you haven't, look it up, Google search it, toroidal body, and you'll see what we look like when we're pure energy, when we do what? We let go. So my message here today is, where have you not let go in your life? Let's bring it down into this kind of three-dimensional space. Where have you not let go in your life and let Spirit guide you? Earlier when you said, bless the speaker, I felt the energy just start coming up my legs because I felt the intention of everybody in this room. So the other part of being a healer and a spiritualist and a spiritual person is you have to allow and let go enough to receive. And a lot of healers, my mother was a brilliant shamanic healer and a great nurse. She was really good at giving energy and healing and doing work on other people. Guess who she was not good on healing and receiving energy? Herself. And so, and almost every one of my spiritual teachers, up until about 15 years ago, every one of them said I had trouble receiving. And then why? Because there's something in us that says, there's a codependent part of us that says we cannot receive and ask for help. And trust me, the universe will take you to a point where it will humble you enough where you don't have a choice. And I don't care how great a healer you are, or how amazing of a person you are, it will make you, humble you enough to ask for what? Help. So you can do what? Receive. Because everything in this universe is what? Give and take. Give and receive. And a lot of people don't like the word take, so I'll say give and receive. And because it's universal, it flows. But too often, one of my teachers passed away of stomach cancer right here because the energy wasn't flowing directly in our solar plexus. And she said, the reason for that is because I was constantly giving out energy and not allowing myself to receive. And so the cancer is the energy that is not moving in the body. The definition of cancer is cells that are not communicating with each other. Wow. So if you get the energy moving, and I want to just everybody take it just a second, just take a deep breath in. But I want you to center your energy in your heart. And as you take that deep breath in, I want you to feel that energy coming down through the crown, but it's flowing like a river down through all the way to your toes, and as you take a deep breath out, it flows all the way up to the back of you, and it's this energy of a river that's flowing up and down, flowing up and down, or down and up, whatever works for you. This is what the Egyptians called the river of gold. And Jesus was baptized in what river? Does anybody remember? The River Jordan, right? So what ends up happening, Buddhist monks say that when they achieve enlightenment, they actually have an electrical current that shoots up their spine, the kundalini. Why? Because our bodies are electrical, and you have an electromagnetic field that surrounds you. But, so you took that deep breath, does everybody feel that river and that energy kind of flowing through you? Now what I want you to do is I want you to take another deep breath in, but when you push your energy out gently, I want you to feel it spreading across this entire room. Like, take a deep breath in, hold it, and then push out. Now let's really fill up this room. Fill it up. We've already got all the spirits in here. Give them energy and receive. And all the people in this room, give that energy and receive. And this is the way you can be on a daily basis. Because as we raise our frequency, nothing that is not of the highest and best good can ever affect us. Unless it is something that we get attached to. So we literally say, every morning I say, nothing that is of my highest and best good, that is not of my highest and best good, can come into my energy. I only call in things of my highest and best good, and I want my day to come with what? Ease and grace. So, and why? Because inner alchemy is about changing the dynamics of what's going on inside of you. So what I'm going to be teaching this afternoon is sitting in there looking at that and alchemizing the inner world. And that will start changing. You'll start being able to hear spirit more. You'll start knowing where to go more. You'll start knowing what to do. And you'll start being able to heal parts of your body as a result of that. Because alchemy is what? Transmuting your mind and heart and body from lead into gold. And what's heavy in your body is your thoughts and your feelings. Because our heart is heavy. It says, I'll leave you with this thought. It says in the Bible, the one that inherits the kingdom of heaven is who? One that is childlike, right? And in the Egyptian text, it actually, before you go into the afterworld, they do what? They measure your heart against what? A feather. So your heart has to be as light as a feather. And so people will say, well, that's impossible. It's not impossible. Well, what's happened is we've been programmed to think that we have to be a certain way, that we have to live a certain way. And as a result, as we hold on to things, we put weight on our heart and our energy and our body. And trust me, as I've let go of my apartment, people have been like, are you sure you want to do that? What happened? Is everything okay? I'm like, everything's great. I'm finally going to live a dream I've been thinking about since I was 25 years old. I'm turning 50 in a few months. I want to make my 50s amazing. And I want everybody else in this room to make the rest of their life and their journey amazing. But do it with spirit, and do it divinely, and with ease and grace. Much love.